The breaking point, the massive crystalline chamber of the Galactic Unity Council, hummed with tension as Ambassador Alina Vasquez walked through the towering doors. Her black diplomatic suit stood out against the rainbow of alien forms that filled the circular amphitheater. Behind her, Admiral Chen Rodriguez followed in his crisp military uniform, his weathered face showing no emotion despite the gravity of what was about to unfold. The council chamber had been built to inspire awe and submission. Floating platforms held delegates from hundreds of species, each one representing worlds that had bent the knee to the council's authority over the past millennium. The air itself glowed with a soft blue light filtered through atmosphere processors that could support most known life forms. The smell was sterile and artificial, like a hospital that had been scrubbed clean of all traces of natural life. Alina had stood in this chamber dozens of times over the past 5 years, always trying to find compromise, always seeking ways to protect humanity's interests while maintaining peace. Today would be different. Today, she carried orders that would shake the very foundations of galactic civilization. Councillor Thrackmore, the reptilian leader who had ruled the council for over 2 centuries, raised his massive head from his elevated platform. His scales gleamed like polished obsidian, and his golden eyes held the cold intelligence of a predator who had never known defeat. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of absolute authority. Ambassador Vasquez, Thrackmore began. His words translated instantly into perfect English by the neural implants all diplomats wore. You have been summoned to receive the Council's final decision regarding humanity's future in our galactic community. Alina placed her hands on the speaking platform and looked up at the hundreds of alien faces staring down at her. She had studied each species represented here, learned their customs, their fears, their weaknesses. What she saw now was not the confident unity the Council projected, but a collection of civilizations held together by fear and dependence. The Emergency Directive 7 Alpha has been approved by a vote of 1,247 to 23. Thrackmore continued. Humanity has grown too rapidly, advanced too quickly, and poses an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. Therefore, the following restrictions will be implemented immediately. The holographic display beside Alina flickered to life, showing the document that would forever change humanity's relationship with the galaxy. She had seen drafts of this directive for months, but reading the final version still made her blood run cold. The Council demanded that humanity surrender 80% of their military fleet, including all vessels capable of faster-than-light travel. They required Earth to implement strict population controls, limiting human births to replacement levels only. All human colonies beyond the Sol system would be placed under direct Council oversight, with alien administrators making all major decisions. Most insulting of all, humanity would be required to share all technological advances with the Council before implementing them, effectively making humans into research slaves for the galaxy. Dr. Zara Arushid, humanity's chief scientist, watched. From the observation deck above, she had spent her entire career developing the technologies that had made humanity's rapid expansion possible. The fusion reactors that powered their ships, the terraforming systems that could transform dead worlds into gardens, the medical advances that had eliminated most diseases. All of it would be handed over to species that had contributed nothing to their development. This is not a negotiation. Thrackmore's voice echoed through the chamber. This is a notification. Humanity will comply within 30 standard days or face the consequences of defying the Council's authority. Alina had expected this arrogance. The council had grown accustomed to absolute obedience over the centuries. They had crushed the Federation when it had developed advanced AI. They had scattered the vegan empire when its military had grown too powerful. They had reduced the proud Centauri Republic to a collection of mining worlds when it had dared to question council policies. But humanity was different. Humans had learned from history, studied the patterns of council control, and prepared for this moment. "Councillor Thrackmore," Alina said, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber, "I have reviewed the emergency directive. The United Earth Federation finds its terms completely unacceptable." A ripple of shock ran through the assembled delegates. The translation systems buzzed and clicked as hundreds of species processed this unexpected response. In the Council's history, no species had ever simply refused a direct order. Resistance was quickly crushed, and submission was inevitable. Thrackmore's golden eyes narrowed, and his forked tongue flicked out to taste the air. "Ambassador Vasquez, you seem to misunderstand the nature of this meeting. The Council does not make requests. We issue commands." Alina reached into her jacket and pulled out a sealed envelope made of simple earth paper. The primitive material looked strange in the high-tech chamber, but it carried more weight than any alien technology. She broke the seal and unfolded the document inside. By unanimous vote of the United Earth Federation Council, Alina read, her voice steady and clear, "I hereby formally withdraw humanity from the Galactic Unity Council, effective immediately. All human diplomatic personnel will be recalled within 48 hours. All human trade agreements are terminated. All human colonies will cease cooperation with Council oversight. All human citizens in Council space are ordered to return to human territory." Within 7 days, the silence that followed was absolute. Captain Marcus Thompson, who was monitoring the communication channels from his ship in orbit, reported later that even the automated systems seemed to stop functioning for several seconds. The concept of voluntary withdrawal was so foreign to the Council that their translation systems struggled to process the words. Alina continued reading from the document. "Furthermore, any attempts to prevent this evacuation or to interfere with human vessels will be considered acts of war against the United Earth Federation. Humanity hereby claims all star systems within 50 light-years of Earth as sovereign human territory, closed to all Council vessels." Councillor Thrackmore's massive form trembled with rage. "You cannot do this, Vasquez. No species survives outside the Council. You will be cut off from galactic trade, from technological exchange, from the protection of civilized space. Your people will starve in isolation." Admiral Rodriguez stepped forward, his military bearing unmistakable even to alien eyes. "Councillor, humanity has never needed the Council's protection. We have never acquired your technology, and we have certainly never depended on your trade. What we have given you is far more than what we have received." Alina folded the document and placed it back in her jacket. "For 5 years, we have tried to work within your system. We accepted limitations on our expansion, restrictions on our research, and oversight of our colonies because we believed in the promise of galactic cooperation. But this is not cooperation, Councillor. This is subjugation dressed up in diplomatic language." She turned to address the entire chamber, her voice carrying a strength that made even the most ancient species lean forward to listen. "For 1,000 years, the Council has maintained order by keeping member species weak and dependent. You break up any civilization that grows too strong. You limit any technology that might threaten your control. You create artificial scarcity. To maintain your economic dominance, But humanity will not be another broken species in your collection. The alien delegates erupted in discussion. Some species looked terrified at the thought of losing human support. Others seemed angry at this challenge to the natural order. A few appeared almost hopeful, as if they were seeing possibilities they had never dared to imagine. Dr. Al-Rashid smiled as she watched the chaos unfold below. She knew something the Council didn't. The technology humanity had shared with other species was decades behind what they had actually developed. The real advances, the revolutionary breakthroughs that could transform entire civilizations, had been kept secret in hidden research facilities scattered across human space. Alina picked up her briefcase and walked toward the exit. Admiral Rodriguez and their security detail fell in behind her, their hands resting casually on their weapons. As they reached the massive doors, Alina turned back one final time. The United Earth Federation thanks the Council for the lessons it has taught us. We have learned that freedom cannot be negotiated, only claimed. We have learned that dignity cannot be granted, only earned. And we have learned that sometimes the only way to achieve true peace is to walk away from those who would deny it too. The doors slid shut behind them with a sound like thunder. In the chamber they left behind, Councillor Thrackmore stared at the empty speaking platform, trying to comprehend what had just happened. For the first time in 1,000 years, someone had said no to the Galactic Unity Council and walked away. Captain Thompson's voice crackled through Elena's communication device as they walked through the station's corridors. Ambassador, all human vessels are in position. The evacuation fleet is ready to begin operations on your signal. Alina looked out through the transparent walls at the vast space around the Council station. Hundreds of human ships hung in the darkness, their hulls gleaming with the light of distant stars. Transport vessels, cargo haulers, research ships, and military escorts, all waiting to carry humanity away from the galaxy's greatest power. Begin the evacuation, Captain, Alina said quietly. It's time to go home. As the first human ships activated their engines and began to move away from the station, the galaxy watched in amazement. For the first time in recorded history, a species had chosen freedom over security, independence over protection. The age of the Council's absolute rule was about to end. The collapse. The evacuation of human personnel from Council space began within hours of Elena's announcement. Captain Thompson coordinated the massive operation from his flagship, the UEF Defiance, watching as transport ships docked at installations across the galaxy. The logistics was staggering. Over 2 million human citizens were scattered across Council territory, working as traders, researchers, engineers, and diplomats. The first sign of the coming crisis appeared at the Kepler Station Medical Facility. Dr. Sarah Chen, the head of human medical operations, supervised the removal of life support systems that had been keeping thousands of alien patients alive. The Thraxian species suffered from a genetic disorder that only human-developed treatments could control. Without these medicines, their population would begin dying within weeks. Please, Dr. Chen, begged Healer Vextar, a Thraxian medical officer. You cannot take all the equipment. Our people will die without human medical technology. Dr. Chen felt the weight of moral responsibility, but she understood the larger picture. I'm sorry, Vextar. The Council made this choice when they decided to treat us as a threat. We cannot continue to support other species while being treated as subjects. Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. The Alteron manufacturing complexes that had depended on human engineering were shutting down. The vegan agricultural worlds that used human terraforming technology were facing crop failures. The Centauri mining operations that relied on human equipment were grinding to a halt. Back on the council station, Councillor Thrackmore was receiving reports that painted an increasingly desperate picture. His aide, a nervous mammalian species called the quillary, brought him the latest economic projections. "Councillor," the aide stammered, "the preliminary assessments are... disturbing. Human involvement in the galactic economy is far more extensive than we realized. Their withdrawal is causing cascading failures across 17 sectors." Thrackmore's golden eyes studied the holographic displays showing economic data from across council space. Trade routes that had been profitable for centuries were suddenly worthless. Manufacturing centers were closing. Agricultural worlds were reporting food shortages. The carefully balanced economic system that had kept the galaxy stable for a millennium was collapsing. "How is this possible?" Thrackmore demanded. "Humans are barely 3% of the galactic population. They have been part of the Council for only 5 years. The aide's fur bristled with anxiety. "Sir, it appears that human technology and expertise had become integral to our infrastructure. They were not just participants in our economy, they were essential to it." Dr. Al-Rashid, now aboard the research vessel UEF Discovery, was coordinating the removal of human scientific equipment from council facilities. She had spent years working with alien scientists, sharing knowledge and collaborating on projects that had advanced galactic civilization. Now she was systematically dismantling those collaborations. "The particle accelerator on Rigel 7 is being deactivated," reported Dr. James Parker, her chief assistant. "The Rigelians are begging us to leave the technical specifications, but our orders are clear. Nothing stays behind." Zara nodded grimly. The Council wanted to control our research. Now they can discover what real independence means. The hidden truth was becoming clear as human equipment disappeared from Council facilities. The humans had not just been contributing to galactic science, they had been driving it. Their fusion reactors were more efficient than anything the Council had produced in centuries. Their computer systems were generations ahead of alien technology. Their medical equipment could treat diseases that had plagued other species for millennia. Most shocking of all was the discovery in the quantum research facility on Proxima Base. As human scientists packed up their equipment, they revealed that they had been working on technologies that made faster-than-light travel look primitive. Dimensional manipulation, time dilation fields, and matter-energy conversion systems that could reshape the laws of physics themselves. "This is impossible," whispered Dr. Kethran, a Centauri physicist who had worked alongside the humans for 3 years. "These equations, they suggest you could travel instantly across the galaxy, create matter from pure energy, even manipulate time itself." Dr. Parker sealed the quantum research data in a secure container. "We shared what we felt was safe to share. The Council demanded we limit our research to protect galactic stability. We complied by keeping our real advances secret." The revelation sent shockwaves through the Council. Not only were humans withdrawing their current support, but they possessed technologies that could revolutionize galactic civilization. And now those technologies were disappearing beyond the Council's reach. Councillor Thrackmore called an emergency session as reports of system failures poured in from across the galaxy. The Council chamber was filled with panicked delegates demanding answers. The Thraxian representative was nearly hysterical as he described his people's medical crisis. The Altaran delegates spoke of economic collapse. The vegan ambassador warned of food shortages that could affect billions. How could we have allowed humans to become so important to our civilization? Demanded Counselor Yethmore, a crystalline being whose voice rang like broken glass. They were supposed to be controlled, limited, contained. Thrakmore's massive form shifted uncomfortably on his platform. The humans were deceptive. They appeared to comply with our restrictions while secretly developing advanced technologies. They integrated themselves into our systems while maintaining their independence. Or, said a quiet voice from the back of the chamber, they were simply better at civilization than we were. The speaker was Counselor Zunlei, an ancient aquatic species that rarely participated in debates. Her words carried the weight of centuries of observation. For 1,000 years, we have maintained order through fear and limitation. Zunlei continued. We break up any species that grows too powerful. We limit any technology that might threaten our control. We have created a galaxy of dependents, not allies. The humans showed us a different way, she said, her voice growing stronger. They shared their knowledge freely. They helped other species advance. They built connections based on mutual benefit, not fear, and when we tried to force them into our system of control, they simply walked away. The chamber erupted in argument. Some delegates blamed the humans for being deceptive. Others accused the council of being too harsh. A few dared to suggest that maybe, just maybe, the humans had been right. Meanwhile, human ships were jumping to hyperspace, carrying 2 million citizens and centuries of accumulated knowledge back to human space. The evacuation was proceeding with military precision, but it was more than just a withdrawal. It was a statement of independence that would reshape the galaxy. Admiral Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the UEF Defiance, watching the last human transport ships leave Council space. All vessels accounted for, sir, reported his aide. The evacuation is complete. Any pursuit? Rodriguez asked. No, sir. Council ships are staying well clear of our formations. They seem to be dealing with internal problems. Indeed, the Council was fragmenting. Species that had been held together by fear and mutual dependence were now blaming each other for the crisis. The Thraxians accused the Alterans of driving humans away with their aggressive policies. The vegans demanded that the Centauri share their remaining technological resources. The delicate balance of power that had kept the galaxy stable for centuries was crumbling. As human ships disappeared into the depths of space, heading for star systems beyond the Council's reach, the galaxy faced a new reality. The age of the Council's absolute rule was ending. The species that had grown dependent on human innovation and expertise were learning the hard way that freedom could not be forced, and that true strength came from independence, not submission. Alina Vasquez stood in the observation deck of her transport ship, watching the stars streak past as they jumped to hyperspace. Behind them, the galaxy's greatest power was discovering that sometimes the most devastating act of war was simply walking away in peace. The Council had tried to chain humanity to their vision of order. Instead, they had learned what happened. When free people chose freedom over security, independence over protection, the galaxy would never be the same again.